Hello, Matthews Gatos here. In this video, I'm going to show you an introduction as to how to graph functions on your TI-83 calculator. So let's begin. To introduce you to your calculator here, to graph a function, you need a y equals equation. So if y is not isolated in your equation, that's what you need to do first. Now, once y is isolated, you'll notice in the first row, first button, I have a button that says y equals. That's where you're going to enter in your equation. So once you press the y equals button, this screen comes up. And now it's ready for you to enter your equation. So right in this area here, you're going to type in your equation, but I have a few little tips for you. The first one is this key here, third row, second button, is your variable key. So that's what we use for x. You can use all of your numbers in combination with add, subtract, multiply, and divide, but a word of caution, I want you to know this is a subtraction key, but this button down at the bottom is actually a negative sign. Don't get those two mixed up, because if you do, you're going to get an error on your calculator. So once you've entered your equation into y equals, you're ready to graph it. So you're going to hit your graph button. Once you have your equation, that's found in the first row, fifth button, and that will let you see the relation of your graph. Now, how much you see on that graph depends on your window setting. So the next button that I want to talk about is in the first row, second button, and that's your window button. What that does is it adjusts what your viewing screen is. So I'm going to talk a little bit about this window, because that's probably the most important part of graphing, because if you don't see everything that you need, you're not going to be able to do any calculations. So let's talk about the window setting. So the window controls how much of the graph you will see. So in terms of x, there's a minimum and a maximum. Now that minimum is the left edge of the window, the maximum is the right edge of the window. Your x scale is how much you're going up by, so the tick marks on your x-axis. Y also has a min and a max, but the min is the bottom edge, the max is the top edge. And the y scale, again, is what you're going up by on the y-axis. Now this button here, xres, is going to be a number between 1 and 8. The higher the number, the faster the graph will go, but there's a trade-off. If it graphs you fast, then you're going to lose some of the fine details. So if you wanted to graph a little bit faster, maybe put it at a 2 or a 3. Otherwise, I just recommend leaving it at a resolution of 1. Now let's talk about these windows on the graph. So I said that the x-min is the left edge, that's right there. It's the lowest number. X-max is the right edge, that's the upper limit. Same thing with y. Your y minimum is your bottom edge, and your y-max is your top edge. Again, your scales are just what you're going up by. So x scale is what you're going up by. Maybe you're going up by 1s, you're going up by 2s, 5s, 10s, whatever it is. Same thing for your y scale. Now you saw when I hit window first, I had this window setting from -10 to 10 up by 1 for both x and y. This is called a standard window setting. Now sometimes we're going to be playing around with our window settings, and we want to come back to this main window setting. The way that we do that is we hit our zoom button, so that's the first row, third button, and we choose option number 6, which is standard. That will always bring you back to this window setting. Okay, so with that said, let's get graphing. I have 3 examples that we're going to do. So the first example we're going to graph is y equals 2x minus 4. So y is already isolated, so we're good to go. So let's go into our calculator, and I'm in my y equals, and I'm going to do 2x, my variable key, minus 4. Okay, so if I hit graph now, I'm going to see my linear function. So there it is, and it looks like the standard window setting is a good one because I can see my x-intercept and also my y-intercept. So let's go to my second equation that I want to graph, and that is negative 0.5x plus 7. So we'll go back into our y equals, and we'll clear that out. And then I'm going to enter in negative 0.5. but I'm going to illustrate what happens when you use the subtraction by accident. So negative, let's say I thought that was a negative 0.5x plus 7. So instead of the negative again, I used the subtraction by accident. So if I hit graph, you can see I get an error. Now the calculator will actually let you go to where the error is. So if you press the down arrow and enter, it'll take you where it is. And it's showing you that's the mistake right there. So let's correct that with a negative instead. And let's hit graph. Okay, so I see my y-intercept, and it looks like I cannot see my x-intercept. It's right supposed to be there. So it looks like I'm going to have to make the right edge of my window bigger, and that's my x max. So let's go into our window, first row, second button, and let's make our x max more max. So let's say we'll make it up to 20, and say we go up by 2's. Okay, let's hit graph and see if that's a good window setting. So there I've got my y-intercept, and now I have my x-intercept. So that is a good window setting. Let's go back here and we'll go to our third graph that I want to do, and that is 5x plus 20. So back to my graphing calculator, go into your y equals and clear it out. So hit clear, and I'll enter in 5x plus 20. Now, on the last question, I adjusted my window setting. So I want to go back to a standard window setting. So I'm going to go zoom and then 6, standard window setting. So hit graph, there it goes. And you can see I can see my x-intercept, but I cannot see my y-intercept. So I need to make the top edge of the screen go up more, which means I need to make my y-max more maximum. So let's go down here, and I'm going to try 20 again for the maximum. And I'm doing this because I want to illustrate if you don't choose the right one the first time, it's okay. You can just go back and change it. So if I hit graph here, I can see x-intercept, and see my y-intercept is right at the top there. I want to clearly see where it crosses the y-axis. So I'm going to go in and make my top edge even further up. So make my y max even further up. So let's try, instead of 20, let's try 30, and maybe now we'll go up by 3's. So hit graph, and there we go with our equation. Okay, and now I can see my x-intercept and also my y-intercept, so I know that that's a good window setting. So I hope this video introducing you to graphing with your TI-83 calculator helped, and I look forward to seeing you guys for the next one.